Okay, you want accountability from the others. What mistakes are you prepared to admit to?
So if it hadn't been for the leaks last week, then the first we would have heard about Prince Harry's book Spare would have been in the interview on ITV last night with Tom Bradby. In the end, we already knew quite a lot from the Spanish translation that was accidentally released too early. Even so, there's plenty to pick out of what Harry told Tom Bradby about racism at the firm, the royal family's relationship with the British press, and the possibility of reconciliation.
You talk about peace. Peace can happen when there's truth. And between my family and myself, it is up to us to reconcile. But the only way that can happen is by keeping the antagonist out of it.
Let's speak to Valentine Lowe, who is the Times' royal writer. So what did you make of the entire interview? I mean, I didn't watch it because I was sleeping, obviously, because got to get up early. But from the clips that we've played, I find he's quite contradictory in places, and I actually really do want to understand what he's saying. And I think he had some interesting stuff to say about culture wars, etc. But sometimes he just suffers from a lack of clarity. What did you take from it?
He certainly suffers from lack of clarity. He contradicts himself on occasion, and he does show a spectacular lack of self-awareness sometimes. I mean, at one point, Tom Bradby asks him about what he would say to William and to Charles about the book, or what they'd say to him. He says that any conversations between him and them about that would remain private. I sort of, that's a real marmalade dropper, isn't it? It's like, yeah, Harry, you proved yourself not very good at keeping things private. And he talks about accountability all the time without being really clear about what it means about all of that. I just don't think he's very clear. I don't think he's very self-aware. And he also says things like that he says he loves his father and brother. Well, that may be true, but he says nothing in this book was intended to hurt them. Well, if I was William or Charles, particularly William, I'd be really hurt about what Harry's written.
What did Harry have? Can you clear up what he said about Camilla?
Well, he basically he says that nothing in the book was meant to be scathing about his family, including Camilla, but he does basically accuse her of leaking stuff about the early conversations with William. So Camilla had conversations with William when she first met him, and that stuff appeared in the paper. And Camilla, through the person doing the PR, at the time, Harry basically says that they leaked that. He points the finger pretty clearly there. And
what do you think this is going to do for sales of the book? Because as I said at the beginning of the interview, there've been plenty of leaks about this. Is that kind of taking the steam out of this, do you think, or not?
I don't think anything's going to take the steam out of this book. People who are interested, and that's an awful lot of people, would have seen the stuff in the papers, and I don't think they're going to feel, oh gosh, we've read it all now. They'll think, oh, hang on, I really want to read this whole book. I want to hear Harry's voice. They don't want to see it through the filter of the newspapers. So I think this book is going to fly off the shelves.
Now there are plenty of interviews. I think there's maybe 4 in total. There's a couple more to still be done in America, and everyone's doing as good a job as they can, especially when the person that you're interviewing doesn't really answer the questions. But that's not something that's restricted to Prince Harry. There's many politicians who do the same thing. Valentine, if you had one question, just one question for Prince Harry, what do you think it would be?
That's a very good question, which I haven't thought about. But I think I would ask him, okay, you want accountability from the others. What mistakes are you prepared to admit to?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I was going to say. Is any of this your fault? But fair enough. Val, thank you very much for that. That's Valentine Lowe. He is the Times' royal writer. Perhaps if you have one question for Harry, something you actually genuinely want to be answered, Doesn't have to be a dig necessarily. Let us know 87222, starting message with the word Times. We're going to speak to a lot of people about this throughout the programme. Jenny Bond, Quentin Letts, also Anthony Lloyd, who's talking about the kind of military side of things as well. So gird your loins.